Hi there. All right, so you're gonna have to excuse me. I look a little tired and all that kind of stuff. It's DragonCon time, and I'm running on about 3 hours of sleep. I was asked to do a tutorial on how I put together my icicle for my Jadis wand, just to kind of give people an idea of what I'm talking about. Sorry, I am making this. You can just Google Jadis wand if you want, and the whole side of it, well, both sides have icicles on them, but the one side has a 22-inch icicle on one side. And I had really struggled because, frankly, I don't have the material or money to invest in materials to do resin casting. So I've been experimenting and playing with different methods of trying to get the icicles made without actually having to cast anything. So, I mean, I'm fine with sculpting, but let's face it, silicone isn't exactly a cheap material to buy. So let me give you an idea of what I have right now. This is what I've made so far. It's got a little bendy, but I think I can straighten that out with a little bit of a heat gun. And as you can see, it's shiny. It's actually shinier underneath of more direct light. So it's probably going to look a lot better in actual photographs where it's lit with a flash than it does right now. The entire thing is based off of a dowel rod, whatever this size is. I think it's 1.5 inches. This is paper clay, which is going to needs sanded and buffed in a few places. And what my icicle is cellophane and hot glue. So to give you an idea of what you're going to need, obviously you're going to want something to build off of, and I'll explain why as I show the tutorial. So I would suggest a dowel rod or something that's probably at least 1/2 inch thick. I mean, you're going to be building your base for the whole thing off of that. So anything that you can get covered with 1/2 inch of hot glue without it wasting away. Otherwise, your cellophane might warp. So something to build off of. Obviously, you're just going to need cellophane. I have a massive roll, but you can certainly find it for cheaper than, I don't know, $10 for smaller rolls than this. This is just whatever you would wrap a gift basket in. You're going to need, obviously, scissors to cut your cellophane with. You're going to need tape. And you're going to want some hot glue. Depending on where you're going, since my wand is headed down to Atlanta where it's going to be really hot, you know, I'm going to use high temp glue so my stuff doesn't melt. The other thing that I did want to mention is that I have not yet covered my wand with resin, so it doesn't look as shiny as it's going to look or as glossy. There's a couple of things that you can do to make it look more glossy. And that is my final thing, which is ice cubes. Believe it or not, as hot glue dries, if you give it a little love and affection from an ice cube, it actually tends to have a much smoother appearance when it dries. Yeah, this was actually the first attempt at an icicle, and it's not terrible, but I want you to learn the same lesson that I learned from this, is that less glue is more. Also, this thing, it's not going anywhere, but the thing that I really like about my wand and how the wand end turned out is that it does get those shiny bits that look like crystalline, as opposed to the milky white that gets on the edges of icicles in nature. So without further ado, I'm going to get started on this. I'm going to pause the video just so I can get a couple more things set up and a little bit more comfortable. I'm just going to do test one off of this guy. So yeah, hold on a second. I'll be right back with you. Okay, so we're back. As you can see, my rod is probably halfway through where my cone is. So what you're going to want to do after that is you're just going to want to back it out a little bit, not too far, just enough that you have a little bit of wiggle room, because again, what's going to happen when you heat the cellophane is that it is going to shrink. So you're going to just take your marker, handy dandy, just mark right there, right at the end of the dowel, so that you know you're at a good spot. Kick your dowel out and go ahead and just snip right on that line. Doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I would argue the less perfect, the better off you are. So then what you do is you just slide your dowel back in, like so. And the next thing you want to do, again, if this, you don't really have to worry so much about what the tape looks like, whether you used clear or not, because this entire part is going to actually be covered by hot glue. So what you want to do is literally just run your tape along the edge of this. You want to get it as flush to the dowel or whatever you're using as possible. So once that's nice and flush, you might want to put more than one go round of the tape, and I apologize for my dog. You might want to put more than one go round of the tape, and if it really bothers you that it's not necessarily perfect, maybe you shouldn't be making an object that was made in nature. Because again, it's an icicle. They're not perfect spears, they're not stakes, and frankly, this isn't a prop that anyone is ever going to truly confuse for being crystalline or actually made out of glass or resin, because it's just not supposed to be like that. If you want to do that, look up resin casting. So the next step is, once you're happy with the shape, if you feel like you need something longer, once you finally put it on your dowel, you can easily untape it. But after this step, there is nothing else you can do other than work with the shape and length that you have. So without further ado, let me move everything out of the way. So again, let's remember how cellophane works. Once it's heated, it's going to shrink. So we're going to take our hot glue gun. Again, you want to use high temperature glue, ideally just so that you don't run risk of either your glue melting or just, sometimes low temperature glue can get tacky even under your own touch. So again, high temperature glue is your friend. So what you're going to do is right around the base, pretty much you can see where the red line was that I put before. You're just going to want to cover everything from there to, you can see your dowel rod or whatever your object is, from that line to wherever the end of your object is. And what this is going to do is essentially it's going to fuse, it's going to cause the cellophane to shrink, and it's going to fuse the cellophane to whatever. Think of it kind of like shrink wrapping. It's the same concept. Oops. And if you put too much glue on, it will dribble off and be a pain in the butt. But again, since icicles occur in nature, you don't have to worry about being perfect on this one. So, if I'm smart, I will speed this up, just so you don't have to listen to me sing to myself. All right, so you want to let this cure. Let me tell you why you don't just cover everything up. If you look at the inside of my test icicle, see how it got all warped and icky? In fact, when you go like this, you can see it's kind of bendy. And if you wanted to try and apply this to, say, a solid surface, you're going to wind up with something that's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's going to be a real pain to try and get it attached. So I would suggest that, for your own sanity, to do this instead of what I originally did, which was make just a straight cone, cover the top with tape, and work down. This is just going to be easier for you. And I'm all about helping people preserve their sanity. So as you can see, we already have some very nice little bits of what will be icicle starting to drizzle on down. So what you want to do is take your actual ice and just rub it on the glue. And this will aid your glue in, I don't know what the science is. I just know that it works. That's all there is to it. And if you get to it a little bit late, you're going to start to see it cloud up a little bit. I'm not so bothered by the cloudiness because, I don't know too many icicles that, are completely and totally clear all the way through. You can see that there's actually, it's starting to steam up on the inside from the changes in temperature. Yay, science. So once you hit this point, you just want to check and make sure that for the most part, everything looks like it's ready to go. You can see up here, it's still very, very, very glossy and glass looking. I'll even slide it closer to the camera so you can see. And here is the hard part. That's your tape, and I used a giant piece of tape. You obviously don't need to use that much tape, but I did, so I get to live with it. The other thing that I can see, I don't know if you can see this, but you can see where the tape ends and my glue starts. You're going to make sure that that's all covered up. So I'm going to go back to covering this up and with glue. And I will fast forward here and there, and I'll pause when there's maybe a little bit of technique-y things that I want to share. So yeah, talk to you soon. All right, so here's technique-y moment one. Didn't think that I would come to it this quickly, but think of how icicles are formed. You're going to want to go ahead and start at the top and goozle on down. That is the technical term for it, because they are usually thicker at the top than they are at the bottom. And I don't know if you caught that there, but as the cellophane started to squeeze in on itself, you know, it tightens. So you don't want to wait too long before getting your ice on there so that you don't get all cloudy. Just very gently. You're not going to mess it up, probably. And then, you know, I like to work on opposite sides just because that makes the most sense for me. If you have another method that makes you happy, feel free to employ that method. The other thing that I thought was really cool is that if I let it twist, which it's naturally want to do, that made a pretty cool pattern. And as it starts to pull on the cellophane, if you hold it down a little bit, it will keep your shape relatively straighter. Again, icicles occur in nature. They're not going to be dagger shaped, but they probably shouldn't be curly-cued either. So again, start from the top of your dowel rod, apply a nice little gob of hot glue, let it roll down. Well, you can't see what I'm doing. Just chase it and twist. That's it. Pretty simple. Again, start at the top. Work your way down, twist. Don't forget to take your ice. Ice is your friend when you're making an icicle. It's really kind of magic the way that it helps. But I don't know if it's the glue setting or what, but as you can see, I mean, that's all pretty much covered in glue at this point. About every inch or so, and it's not clouding up too bad. There's the tape again, so I want to take a second and cover that up. I start usually, I don't know if you can see this bump, but there's a bump there. I try to build off of bumps that are there rather than making new bumps, because the top should always be wider. You know, bumps don't usually start in the middle, so just go ahead, squeeze on down. And when in doubt, you're probably doing it right. The odds are pretty good. Again, try and start with the bump. Build off of your bumps. There we go. Use your ice cube. The tricky part for me was figuring out how to finish it, because hot glue is pretty thick. So I wouldn't suggest going too crazy towards the bottom. You're going to want to maybe start somewhere with a nice little bump and just build off of it and just kind of draw where the water would have run down and frozen. Again, I'm sure there's more science to icicles than what I'm thinking of, but I'm a very physically minded person. So in my mind, it can't be that complicated. And that's it. Ta-da! It's an icicle. Blue. Yeah, there's probably a couple little pieces in there that I would like to cover up just a little bit more. Yeah. Did you get the idea? Icicle. So just to reiterate, for those who maybe haven't been paying attention, what this prop is intended for is just for something that looks good. It's never going to fool anyone that it's actually real ice, but it is a cheaper, easier approximation than resin casting. I think all told in supplies I've used 4 glue sticks, a dowel rod, scotch tape, and less than $1's worth of cellophane. The other thing is, I think that this is mostly dry. It's pretty rigid, you know. Yeah, I just splattered water. Yeah, this is still going to be a little damp, but it's pretty hard. You know, hit my hand pretty good. You know, and it doesn't go anywhere. It's held pretty structurally sound with this glue lattice work. So, and it's definitely going to be con safe. I mean, you're not going to be able to impale someone with this, but you are going to want to be careful if you take something like this into a crowd that you maybe hold it straight up. So that it doesn't get whacked or tripped over or otherwise destroyed. I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial on how I made my icicle. And again, good luck, and I hope you enjoy it and make lots of your own, whether it be for costumes or for props or just because you like icicles. I don't know. Thanks for watching.